was looking at you, kid. Velma Hagar. Hidden Treasures in Secret Places on Amazon.com. You know what? I'm going to talk about something today that I feel very qualified to speak about. You know, the other day, my son said to me, "You know, Mom, the one thing I would have to say that you need to really work on is to be more compassionate with people that have not made it." And you know, I really thought about that and I thought, he's right. You know, I don't have any patience with, I look out at those street people and they're living out there in squalor, And yet that's where we came from. Honestly, the Hagar family was, in those days, for all intents and purposes, we were street people. We started out in Palm Springs, and we lived in this little lean-to that was on the Indian reservation. We weren't Indians, but we were allowed to live there because if you were poor enough, you could live there. So my mom and dad and us kids lived there with our grandparents. This house it didn't have any flooring. It just was in the dirt. And it was a little shack, a little lean-to. We spent all of our days outside. We took a bath outside in a tub, and we washed clothes out on a fire outside. And we had one spigot about a block away that we would go and bring our water, lug our water up to our little shack, so to speak. Those were the good days. I mean, we had a house then, but we had linoleum over the dirt, just laid out on the dirt. Then my mom and dad got a place. My dad would get drunk and we would all have to leave, and my mom had nowhere to go, and so we would live out in the streets. We would live under trees. We slept under trees a lot of times. There were orange trees where we lived, and my mom used to go and make a little pallet under the trees, and we would sleep under there. And if she could get a job, like I remember one time her getting a job washing dishes in this little restaurant, we would sit in the car while she worked. We had this old car. That's when we had a car. We were lucky when we had the car because we could sleep in that. And all 5 of us, my mother and 4 kids, would sleep in the car once we got it. She made a bed in the back seat, and Sammy and Bro and I would sleep back there. She laid out a cardboard and, made a bed out of it. And then in the front seat, her and Bobby, my sister, would sleep. But before we had a car, we would sleep at the campgrounds. So I tell you all this to say, I've been there, and I have very little patience with people. But the reason, this is my reason. I always hate these "I did it because," it's kind of like a defense mechanism. But there is merit to what I'm going to tell you. My mother, no matter where we lived, we slept in many a chicken coops, but they were always clean. When I see these pictures of these street people and everything is thrashed, it's like pigs live there. And I get mad when I see it. I go, what in the heck? Okay, so they're a street person. But doggone, keep your little section clean. My mother used to she'd go to the campgrounds and she would set up a camp. We didn't have a tent, but she would set up a camp with little rocks. Listen to my dog. You have to ignore this. My dog has decided to play with this little squeaky when I'm doing this. I'm at home. What are you going to do? This is Guido. Remember, we all love Guido. So Mother would set the camp up because there'd be a little table and, wood bench and table that came at the campground. And she'd take little rocks and she'd put them all around the campground site. So we made our little space in there. And then she would string some string up between 2 trees and put blankets and make like a semblance of a tent. She'd get old boxes, wood boxes, and she'd make like little cupboards. She'd get a pine tree and she would sweep the ground. Wherever we were. And so I want to say, there's my Guido, is he adorable? I want to say that where I don't have compassion is, doggone it, okay, it's okay that you don't have things. But what you do have, doggone, take care of it. That's what bothers me. That's why I don't have compassion. Because look, the word says, if you're faithful with a little, you'll get a lot. Look at this guy. He's decided he's going to get up here and give me a little bath right in the middle of this. Come over here so they can see you on the YouTube. Everybody loves you. When I get you in here, they all watch it better. Anyway, so keep it clean. The word says if you're faithful with a little, you'll get a lot. And that's what happened to my family. My mother was faithful with what we had. She took care of it. She kept it clean. I remember her hanging little curtains even in the chicken coop, just get these little curtains from the secondhand store and hanging them up. I've told you guys this stuff before, but I want to tell you, this is why I don't have patience with street people. Doggone it, keep what you have clean. And even if you're not a street person, if you live in a house and you live in a pigsty, you don't tidy up your house, I find that offensive. We serve an orderly God. Just keep your area and your stuff. You don't have to be neurotic, but keep it tidy. And that is my story. I felt like I could speak to this because I came from that. You know what I mean? My mother kept everything so clean. And so you know what? We were poor. We were dirt poor. But we did not live in filth. And then my son says, well, Mom, you were lucky you had a mother that taught you different. And I suppose there's merit to that too. There are a lot of people that don't know any better. We need to have compassion. I need to have compassion. I guess I just want to ask for forgiveness if I have been not patient and not showing compassion to those that have less. And that have not had anybody to teach them. That's really the whole crux of this. So I said all that to say, keep your stuff clean though, doggone it. Now that you've been told, you can do this. He's looking at you, kid. Until next time, this is Velma Hagar bidding you a blessed day. Tidy up your house and everything that's yours.